Hello, welcome to I'm Son. So, a look ahead to this coming weekend's fixtures in the English Premier League, Game 7 or Week 7, however you want to call it. Some interesting fixtures, and I suppose I want to put it out to you guys. What do you think is the top fixture for this weekend? Because there are a couple of contenders here. Friday night, you got Bournemouth against Fulham, 8 p.m. I think this is interesting. Why? It just goes to show money talks and bullshit walks, basically. And because you got the internationals, I would have thought that they should be putting all the games on the Saturday or an early Sunday, as opposed to some games even going into Sunday and then on the later Sunday afternoon. I think that's a bit awkward, but there we go. That's just my opinion. On Saturday, 12:30 kickoff, Leeds against Tottenham. I think that's a very decent game. Leeds have been holding their own, I think, so far this season, and Tottenham been faltering a little bit in the last couple of games. So we'll see. Should be an interesting one. 3:00 kickoffs. Arsenal against West Ham. That's one I'm most interested in. I'll be talking on that a little bit. And I think that's actually probably a contender for game of the weekend. Man United at home to Sunderland. You've got to favour Sunderland having getting a result there. I've got to say, the way Man United are playing. If Man United do lose there, you've got to say, what Man United waiting for Amarim? They've really got to get rid of him. You would have thought. If you're a Man United fan, let us know. Or are you still there saying, no, got to give him time, it's a project, got to give him time. The thing is, nobody knows what this project is, I think. That's the problem. And you got to question, does Amarin even know what this project is at this rate? But then at 5:30, you got Chelsea at home to Liverpool. That's probably the game of the weekend, right? Chelsea against faltering, Liverpool faltering. It'll be interesting to see who comes out on top here. And Actually, I think that's a hard one to call. I think Liverpool are defensively a little bit suspect as well. They've been dropping points. They lost again in Champions League in the week, didn't they, to Galatasaray? Osman scoring the goal there, I believe. So look, it'd be interesting. Chelsea as well. The last time out in the Premier League, they're getting beat by Brighton at home, 3-1. So look, neither team is, very convincing, certainly defensively. And then on Sunday, we're looking at the games, quite a few games. The 2:00 kickoffs, Aston Villa against Burnley. Interesting game. You would have thought the Villa maybe starting to find a bit of form there, getting a win. Everton at home to Crystal Palace again. Everton drew the other night, of course, to West Ham, but Crystal Palace. Great performance against Liverpool. So they're the team to watch right now, Crystal Palace, right? Newcastle at home to Nottingham Forest, decent game. Wolves at home to Brighton Hove Albion. Again, Wolves struggling just like West Ham, but Brighton, riding high as well, especially over that win over Chelsea. And then the 4:30 kickoff, again, Brentford at home to Manchester City. I think the game's too late. Especially when you've got the players within these teams involved in internationals. So, yeah, you might say, oh, well, it's only a couple of hours. What does it matter? I believe that these games should not be happening on when you got internationals coming up. It should be all Saturday games, and then they go straight away on the Sunday to internationals. That's just my opinion. I mean, personally, I'm not a fan of international breaks anyway, but there we go. So some interesting games, but I've got to say, on Saturday, this is where you're going to get your pick. It's Chelsea against home to Liverpool. Take your pick. I would imagine I'm going to go for a cheeky Chelsea home win here. I think they're both as suspect as each other. It might be a bit of a goal fest in all fairness, especially if they go after each other. So that'd probably be the one to watch. So Saturday, 5:30. But 3:00, Arsenal at home to West Ham United. Obviously, West Ham have got their manager change. Nuno Espirito Santo and involved now. And he's basically come in and he's reshaped West Ham just within a couple of days. And when West Ham played Everton, there was a marked difference in the way they were playing. still a long way to go. Lots of defensive frailties, lots of errors being made. But you could see in just the tenacity of the players, they kept their heads high. Even when they went 1-0 down through very bad marking from West Ham Mavropanos against a good header from Keane, right? But it still wasn't great defending. But certainly going forward, there seemed to be a lot more purpose, a lot more drive, a lot more ambition. So on the basis of just that performance, you would say if they can at least match that performance against Arsenal and be hard to beat, then they might be able to give Arsenal a game. Now, there is some argument that West Ham against Everton, West Ham should have scored a goal, maybe a couple more, and Everton had their chances as well. Let's not dismiss them out of hand. But you would think, well, actually, that was just one game in charge after a couple of days. Now he's got a full week with the squad. Let's see what happens. Now, the interesting thing is, okay, which players does Nuno Espirito Santo favour? Which players are already out the door, halfway out the door? Well, you would imagine James Ward-Prowse is not going to get a shoe in here. Todibo as well, could be issues there. Wan-Bissaka, it really depends if he's returning from this stomach bug that he's got, whether he'll feature as well ahead of Kyle Walker-Peters, who had a decent game. But against Arsenal had a great game against Newcastle. They won, a last-minute winner, but really, you're looking at that game objectively. You got to say that Arsenal really battered Newcastle. They had lots of chances. I still believe that the Arsenal. I'm saying this now. That Arsenal, they should have been awarded a penalty. For me, in that moment when Pope took down Gyökeres with his knee-on-knee contact, and whilst the ball was played on from Gyökeres, he tapped it past the keeper, and he tapped it onto Pope's foot. It wasn't as if Pope had gone in for a challenge and got the ball. It was sort of incidental that he made contact with it. He still took him out before he made the contact with the ball. So personally, I would say the contact that Pope made on the board is incidental, and he should have gone. So he should have been sent off, and it definitely should have been a penalty. Should he have been sent off? That's debatable, where the ball was going to be going, whether you're in full control of the ball, but certainly in terms of, and was it goalward? No, but I would say definitely in terms of a penalty it was. So, listen, this is going to be a tough game for West Ham, no doubt. And I would say this is probably a real contender with Chelsea and Liverpool to be the game of the weekend. Watch out for that. Another game to watch out for. And this is all happening on the Saturday. I think the Saturday games have got the pick here. Leeds at home to Tottenham. That could be a bit of a barnstormer. But the one that gives me a lot of intrigue is Man United against Sunderland. And it's more so to see, well, how are Man United going to set up? How are they going to play against Sunderland? How resistant to change is Amorim going to be? And, well, I've got to say, what kind of Man United are we going to see against Sunderland? You would hope a marked improvement, but it doesn't look like it. It doesn't look like it so far. And then you've got to be looking there's been some odd names being raised as potential replacements for Amorim already this week, and you got to think, well, who could come in again for Man United and change them all up? And all the candidates so far that I've heard, then if you're a Man United fan, I would be very, very worried. I'm not saying that you stick with Amorim because these are the only ones that are being touted, but I'm saying I'd be very worried, because if that's your manager that you got and you're not getting a tune out of these players, I don't believe these players, most of these players are, got enough within them. They don't have the right stuff to be not only Man United players, let alone Man United players, but even Premier League players, a lot of them. But under Amorim, they're just not playing as a unit at all. And this is a great opportunity for Sunderland to go in there, nick a point, nick a win. And I've been quite impressed with Sunderland, actually, the way they've got results so far this season. So, interesting week ahead. Game 7, English Premier League. Couple of games really to look out for. Arsenal against West Ham. Chelsea against Liverpool. All the Saturday games. The Sunday games, I just think they should have moved them to the Saturday myself. I think it's always an opportunity. If you're going to try and make a big deal about the internationals, then you really should make more of an allowance for it. But I understand this is all to do with TV broadcasting, isn't it? It's all, it's obvious. Yes, I know. You don't have to tell me. I know that's what it is. And as I said right at the very start, money talks, bullshit walks, and this is where we're at. But it kind of is a bit of a nonsense, really, when you think about it. But I would say the best games are on the Saturday, and some couple of interesting ones there. So Leeds, Tottenham, Man United, Sunderland. Just for results' sake, if you're looking at those from outside looking in objectively, I'm obviously a West Ham fan, so I'm going to be very interested to see how we shape up against Arsenal. I just hope that Nuno Espirito Santo can still maintain and inject that kind of fighting spirit in with West Ham. And I think that's really, realistically, the only opportunity we've got of upsetting upsetting Arsenal in this game and making it really difficult. And if we can mess up the game enough, I don't like this kind of football. I don't think it's the kind of football that West Ham should be playing, of course. It's not the kind of manager that I want to play that kind of football. However, he is the perfect manager to put us into shape, make us defensively sound, get our players playing counter-attacking football in time, get a couple of players so we can play quality attacking football. But in the meantime, if we can just rough up Arsenal a little bit, they've got their dark arts tactics. The players always going down at the slightest touch. They take the longest time in their corners. They're wasting time. They're upsetting flow as well. So they've got lots of dark arts, Arsenal, and it'd be very interesting to see if West Ham can go there and give them a bit of a game. I'm really looking forward to watch this one. So if you like what I do here, keep on watching the videos, and I gotta say, Game 7, come on, let's have it. Up the hammers, and I'll see you after the games. Catch you again. Bye now.